content of the speech, but one question. Who heard me speak last year when we talked about study groups and the connection zone? Quite a few of you. Who remembers what happened last year when I was talking and the flip chart, someone stole it while I was talking? While I was talking. Now, I take it as a compliment that nobody in the audience noticed the flip chart being stolen because they were concentrating on me. So I need a favor. Don't concentrate on me. Please concentrate on the flip chart this time. Because if that goes walking, I've got nothing to say. Okay, so we're here to talk about agendas, creating an agenda for a financial planning meeting. So another question for the audience. Who currently uses an agenda for a meeting? Some, but not everybody. I'm going to talk about the different types of agendas that we can use for a meeting, but before I do that, let's talk about why we should have an agenda. So multiple reasons, no particular order of priority, but the first thing is, it gives structure to a meeting. It means that we know what to expect to happen in that meeting, step by step. More importantly, the client knows that in this meeting, here is what is going to happen. So that's key to creating the entire structure thinking. Number two, it allows us to go and off tangent, I call it. Talk about something else because things come up in conversation, but we know where we need to come back to. So it keeps us back on track. Number three, here's what I find is an interesting one. If you run out of time in a meeting, you can draw a line on that agenda and say, this is where we got to, this is where we need to pick up from next time, by having that agenda. Number four, and I find this one amusing, it gives the client an idea when this meeting's going to end. Because they can see as we're working our way down the agenda that this is not going to carry on for another half a day, we're nearly finished. So having an agenda is a very powerful tool, and I recommend you use it. Now, some people, unfortunately, I thought only 5 people would turn up, so I'm honoured that there's quite a few here. So I brought a number of handouts, obviously not enough, but if you email me, or take my business card at the end and email me, I'll send you a copy of this if you didn't get it. The sheet that I'm giving as a handout is double-sided, because I have 2 agendas that I want to share with you. The first agenda is an agenda that I put on the table at the beginning of a meeting to explain what is going to happen in this meeting. Okay? So this is not necessarily a financial planning agenda, this is an agenda for the meeting. So I'm running through this for those that don't have it. It's an agenda for people that know me. I describe myself as a financial architect, so my process is wealth architecture, so the meeting we're having is a wealth architecture meeting. The date of the meeting, the name of the client. Introduction and purpose of the meeting, setting the scene. This is why we're meeting. Opening question I always ask there. In the time that we are going to have together, what needs to happen for this meeting to be valued to you? Okay? And wait for the answer. So in the time that we're going to have together, what needs to happen for you to feel that this meeting was valuable to you? Listen really carefully. The first speaker yesterday was talking about listening. Listen very carefully to the answer, because what that person is telling you is, if you want to engage me for the rest of our relationship, you better deliver this. Okay, so it's really important, that question, and more importantly, the answer. And then explain who I am and my process. I have a flow chart of my process of financial planning. And then more importantly, tell me about yourself. What's your background? What's brought you here today? And then we'll talk about your future plan. The next 10 years of your life, the next 5 years of your life. And I have tools for helping clients to think about those things. And then we'll talk about the Dan Sullivan question, your opportunities, strengths, and weaknesses, or concerns, which is, if we put the clock forward 5 years from today, and today is June 2024, what's happened over the past 5 years for you to feel happy with your progress? Again, listen to the answer, and note the order of the question is not, where do you see yourself? You're already there. I've taken you forward. what happens? It's a very different psychology. There's no barriers because then people say this is what happens. So that's where we go through that and say, okay, opportunities that you can take advantage of, the strengths that you should leverage, and concerns, fears that you may have. Then from that, I can give a client overview as to what I can help with, and then I can present some ideas. And when we get to presentation of ideas, we turn the page and I'll show you the other agenda I use. At the end of the meeting, we'll talk about the way forward. What's the next steps? We must have action steps in an agenda, otherwise a complete waste of time. And then tools that I have called the design strategy, which is the report fees that I charge, and the design strategy initiator, which is an agreement between me and the client that says, I'm going to do this by what time, and you're going to do this by when. So we are in agreement that we're both going to go and do something, otherwise the next step doesn't happen. Very powerful because they make a commitment. We both sign that we hold each other accountable to do that. And AOB, any other business. So that goes on the table right at the beginning of the meeting, and it forms the agenda for the meeting. But I want to talk more about how do we create a financial planning agenda. Okay, that's a meeting agenda. Now I'm going to focus on, let's talk about how to have an agenda that enables us to broaden the topics into a discussion. So if somebody wants this, I have a spare one. The advantages of sitting at the front. Note. So in this part of the meeting, I'm going to put an agenda together, handwritten, I do it every time handwritten, to show this is what I think you need. So follow me with this. Those of you that have the handout, you already have these words. What you might want to do is just put a number so you can see the order that I write them. So I start off by saying, this is handy, isn't it? Good. Everyone see this? So I get a piece of paper and I write in big words, you know, financial planning is about short-term issues, it's about medium-term issues, and funnily enough, it's about long-term issues. That doesn't mean that you do the short before you do the medium, before that you do the long, but you look at everything together and then decide where the priorities are. Okay? So those are the first three words that I write down. I then say, let me explain a little bit more about what these things represent. Short-term planning is things like debt consolidation. So, you know, if you've come here with big credit card debts, personal loans, then we may need to get those onto better rates. We may need to start saving you some money in order for you to have some spare capital to spend on other things. Short-term planning is about protection. Protection of what you currently have. Okay? Listen to the words really carefully. I've been using these for the last 20 years. They work. Who's heard my speech, The Power of Words? Words are the tools that we have that we can influence the reaction, the response, and the results that we get from people. So, protection of what you currently have. And what you currently have is, clearly, because you're here, your life, your health, and a product of those two things is your ability to produce income. Do you think these three things are important to protect? Is that a leading question? Absolutely. But I'm getting a buy-in very early that these are important to that person. If he says no, there's a problem. And this meeting's going to be very, very short. Okay? So an agenda helps you to cut short a meeting as well. Medium-term planning is about, say, mortgages, making sure you have the right type of mortgage being paid off in the right way over the right term. Medium-term planning, and to some extent long-term planning, is savings. Putting money aside on a regular basis, either for general purpose, just because it makes sense to save, or a specific purpose. School fees, buying a new car, deposit on a house, whatever that person's objectives are, which we established earlier in the meeting. So savings is putting money aside on a regular basis for specific or general purpose. Long-term planning is investments, which can also be medium-term. So this is where you have already got your capital, either because of matured savings, or a bonus from work, or you've won the lottery, or got an inheritance, but it's different to savings. Savings is regular, investments is a lump sum. Again, people want to talk about what's the best way of investing my money to get a better return than I'm getting elsewhere, either again for general purpose, because it makes sense that you sweat for your money, now we need to make your money sweat for you. So for general purpose, we want to get the best possible deals that we can, or, again, specific. I've got $10,000, I need to turn it into $20,000. What's the best way, how long that's going to take me? Something specific. Long-term planning is about pensions. And this is what I do in a meeting. Note, I write the word pensions, and then I pause and I say, actually, I don't like the word pensions. The word pensions has this connotation about being old and grey. And I find people don't want to talk about being old and grey.